I have read arguments that Caleb, a prince of Judah, was most likely a Gentile convert, and I've also read arguments that Caleb was most likely not a Gentile convert. This seems to be a lively topic in Messianic circles, with Messianics favoring a Gentile origin for Caleb. Do you take a position on this question?
Yeah, we should tell everybody. Trey let me see the questions here, and it's fortunate that he did, because this question is extremely complicated. We're probably going to take half the episode to address this question. So it was good to get a heads up. And what I decided here was, rather than trying to wing it, since it is so complicated, in the interest of time and clarity, I'm going to quote at length on and off from the Anchor Yale Bible Dictionary articles on Caleb, which that one's by Mark Fretz and Raphael Panitz, and the article on Kenaz, which is by a different author whose last name is Kuntz. We're going to have to hit both of those, and I'll make some summary comments along the way to try to tighten things up here. But I don't really know why the Messianic movement cares about this. After I go through the material, I'm going to venture a guess here, at least part of the Messianic movement. But I really don't see any importance to it one way or the other. And I think in the end, you'll see it's a bit of a moot point, because does it really make much of a difference if someone was born into Abraham's lineage or married into it, or absorbed into the family of Abraham, the family of God, at some other point or in some other way? So I don't know why it's important, but we'll just jump in here. The first thing we have to sort of establish here is that there are actually three people in the Old Testament that are named Caleb. So Fretz and Panitz write this to summarize kind of the getting into the topic here, at least the beginning part here. They say any discussion of the name Caleb and its variant form must of necessity also entail an investigation of the Calebites, or the descendants of Caleb. And that's going to become an issue, as we'll see. It's kind of important, because depending on sort of which Caleb you're talking about, it's going to involve geography and sort of towns and things within a certain geographical area that get absorbed into the tribe of Judah. So sidebar here before we jump back into the three candidates, or the three Calebs here. The root, someone might be out there wondering if this has anything to do with the question. I actually don't know, but I'm just throwing this out here. But the root of Caleb is KLB, okay, Kaf Lamed Bet in Hebrew, which means dog. And that should not be presumed to be automatically a pejorative or a negative thing. The root occurs in basically every Semitic language, and it can indicate either some sort of self-abasement or debasement, that would be the negative connotation, or it can denote faithful servant, like faithfulness as in just servitude. So you'll actually see, if you ran a concordance search on Caleb, the Hebrew term through the Hebrew Bible, you'd get examples in the Bible of both a negative and a positive connotation. So with that sidebar over, let's go to the three Calebs here, because there are three of these guys, and this is where it gets kind of convoluted. You have to sort of land on one for the sake of the question. So again, quoting from Anchor Yale Bible Dictionary article on Caleb, the Fretz and Panitz write, the son of Jephunneh and the representative of the tribe of Judah among the 12 spies sent out by Moses to reconnoiter the land of Canaan is sort of the first one. That's the one everybody thinks of. In contrast to God prohibiting the people from entering the land because they rejected his recommendation, God singled out, quote, my servant Caleb, unquote, and promised to bring him into the land where he had gone and to give it to his descendants as a possession. It's Numbers 14, also Numbers 26, Deuteronomy 1, 36, so on and so forth. This promise set Caleb apart from all his peers, even Joshua, and it raises the issues of geographical location and genealogical identification of Caleb and the Calebites. And continuing, the land that came to be owned by Caleb through apportionment, that's the doling out by lot, to the tribes, the land of the tribes, Joshua 14 and 15. So the land came to be owned by Caleb through apportionment, through force. Again, he has to go and fight for it, or a combination of the two. These two means was associated with Hebron and Devir in southern Palestine. 1 Samuel 30:14 identifies part of this area as, quote, the Negev of Caleb, unquote. If we identify the cities and boundaries of the tribe of Judah, it becomes obvious that the land owned by or associated with Caleb is located within Judah's borders. And the reference for that is Joshua 15:1 through 12. Hebron is a key element in this association, in part because of its proximity to other Judahite cities. But in light of the centrality of the Davidic dynasty in the biblical tradition, it was as the first capital city of David that Hebron played an unquestionable and an important role. Note that Nabal, the first husband of David's wife Abigail, was a Calebite who lived in this region. That's 1 Samuel 25:3. That we'll stop the quote there just to say, here's at this point, that's the guy we're all thinking of, okay? That the question is really targeting. But it's actually at this point where things get complicated with the other two Calebs. So going back to the article, we'll read some more. So, quote, in 1 Chronicles, several genealogies contain the name Caleb, and these reflect inconsistencies of lineage and raise questions in light of the other biblical information about individuals named Caleb. First, Caleb the son of Jephunneh is only explicitly mentioned in a genealogy of the sons of Kenaz, or the Kenizzites. That's 1 Chronicles 4:13 through 15, which is set within a section concerning the descendants of Perez. The daughter of this Caleb is named elsewhere as Aksah. That's Joshua 15:16 and 17, and Judges 1:12 through 13. While an Aksah is listed as the daughter of Caleb, the son of Hezron. So you got one, you got this daughter of Caleb in those references. Then you have a daughter of Caleb listed as the daughter of Caleb, the son of Hezron. So you got the Jephunneh guy, the Jephunneh Caleb. Now you got the Caleb, the son of Hezron here. Aksah is listed as the daughter of Caleb, the son of Hezron, and a grandson of Perez. Second, the Masoretic text never identifies the wife of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. So, right away you think, well, are they the same? Are they different? What's going on here? Back to the quote. However, Caleb, the son of Hezron, has several wives and concubines, and his descendants are not easily placed in his genealogy. It's 1 Chronicles 2:18 through 24, 42 through 55. One identifiable descendant, Bezalel, 1 Chronicles 2:20, a great-grandson of Caleb, the son of Hezron, was a contemporary of Moses, according to Exodus 31:2 and 35:30. And therefore, that one, he can't be the great-grandson, can't be the great-grandson of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. So right away, we're getting a confusion here with Caleb, these two Calebs and the relatives. They can't be the same. So third, a Caleb, the son of Hor, can be identified according to the Masoretic text of 1 Chronicles 2:50, but according to his genealogy, 1 Chronicles 2:42 through 55, this Caleb appears to be his own grandfather. Fourth, the names of some of Caleb's descendants are place names. In other words, they're not people names, they're place names: Tekoa, Ziph, Madmanah, and Hebron, which complicates an attempt to understand the purpose of the genealogies. Now, Williamson, in his New Century Bible Commentary on 1st and 2nd Chronicles, resolves these problems by assuming that the chronicler pulled together most of the genealogies but was not concerned with the details of genealogical consistency. Rudolph, who's a German scholar, on the other hand, attributes the inconsistencies to later additions, which disrupted the consistencies of the chronicler's composition. It is generally agreed that one section, 1 Chronicles 2:42 through 50, derives from a tradition which predates the chronicler, probably from the United Monarchy or shortly thereafter. That's according to Williams' his opinion in his New Century Bible Commentary. Now, the Anchor Bible article continues and says the key to resolving the tensions in these genealogies is the fact that Caleb is part of Judah's genealogy. Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, is a Kenizzite who gained special status through his deeds in the wilderness wanderings and the conquest stories. On the other hand, Caleb, the son of Hezron, plays a role only in the genealogies of Judah, and Bezalel, the tabernacle builder, seems to be the central character in his genealogy. The chronicler does not attempt to relate Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, to Caleb, the son of Hezron, because neither of them is central to his purpose of establishing a royal and cultic origin in the tribe of Judah. And that's the opinion of Williamson on page 52 of his commentary. Caleb the Kenizzite is important rather because of things he did, Numbers 13 and 14, Joshua 14, and the associations he had, Joshua 15, Judges chapter 1, outside the chronicler's framework. Let me read that sentence again without the verse references. Caleb the Kenizzite is important rather because of things he did and associations he had outside the chronicler's framework, although these were not unknown to the chronicler. Therefore, in addressing the questions raised above, Caleb the Kenizzite, who appears in 1 Chronicles 4:15, within the lineage of Perez, is to be identified with the individual so well known from the tradition of Calebites in southern Palestine, Numbers 13 through 14, and Joshua 14 through 15. To ask whether his daughter Achsah is the same as the daughter of Caleb, the son of Hezron, in 1 Chronicles 2:49, misses the point of the genealogy, at least in Chronicles. So we have to distinguish these two. And to continue again with a quote just a little bit more, this introduces the final issue of the function of genealogies. According to Wilson, and little rabbit trail here, Wilson is one of the recognized experts in biblical genealogies. He's got a bunch of articles and a book on it. According to Wilson, genealogies can be used to delineate social and political ties. Now, catch that, social and political ties, not necessarily blood ties, okay? Social and political ties between two groups, and in particular to incorporate marginally affiliated clans into a central group. So I'll stop here just to make the point again. Genealogies are not always about lineal biological descent. They can be about social and political relationships. Okay? Back to the quote. The genealogy of Caleb is related in this way to the tribe of Judah, that is, socially and politically, and was assimilated into the Israelite tribal system thereby. Not only the individuals and groups of people, but the places associated with them become part of the tribe of Judah. Thus, the genealogy provided a means for legitimizing social relations and for defining the geographical domain of the individuals or groups concerned. And here's their conclusion. It would appear that Caleb the son of Jephunneh is the name of a Kenizzite whose personal exploits became the tradition of the clan which took his name as a patronym. That's who the clan is named after. This clan existed independently in southern Palestine, but through political, economic, and religious ties, it eventually became part of the tribe of Judah, even within the larger Israelite tradition. The distinctive stories of the Calebites were retained into the post-exilic period. Now that's the end of the Anchor Yale Bible Dictionary article on Caleb. And the thing to take away from this is that you could see why some would insist that Caleb is an Israelite because of this relationship to Judah. But what the article points out is that you can't rely on the genealogies to talk about biological relationships, blood relationships. Sometimes genealogies are about social and political circumstances. And again, the evidence points to Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, which is the Caleb that everybody's thinking about with the conquest story. That Caleb, he and his relatives, he and his tribe were incorporated into Judah, not because of blood relationships. They're not Judahites, but the incorporation of Caleb and that tribe into Judah is based really on geography and political relationships and social relationships that really are tied to geography. So now that last paragraph it would appear that Caleb the son of Jephunneh is the name of a Kenizzite, again, who's from southern Palestine. That last paragraph means we now need to think about Kenizzites. Okay, what's up with them? And for that, I'll go to a different article in the Anchor Yale Bible Dictionary, the article on Kenaz. That's Kenaz for those of you who have that resource. And if you don't have the resource, I highly recommend it. It's very detailed. The Kenizzites are ostensibly related to Kenaz, but there are 3 Kenazes in the Old Testament. So here's how the article, or the author of this article, his last name is Kuntz, summarizes the 3 Kenazes. He says, quote, first there is Kenaz, the son of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau and Adah. That's Genesis 36:11, 1 Chronicles 1:36, who functioned as an Edomite clan chief, again, according to Genesis 36:15 and 42. Though Kenaz of Genesis 36:11 is ordinarily understood to be the eponymous ancestor of the Kenizzites, in other words, their remote progenitor, according to Genesis 15:19, Kuntz writes, this connection is not buttressed by hard evidence. Second, there is Kenaz, the younger brother of Caleb and the father of Othniel. That's Joshua 15:17, Judges 1:13, 3:9, and 11. In 1 Chronicles 4:13, Kenaz is credited with a second son, Sariah. Third, there is Kenaz, the grandson of Caleb through Elah. That's 1 Chronicles 4:15. The plural gentilic adjective, that's sort of a people, gentilic refers to a people group term. The plural gentilic adjective Kenizzites surfaces but one time in the Old Testament, Genesis 15:19, within a promise that Yahweh makes to Abraham in a theophany. Listed in second position just after the Kenites, this is one of 10 peoples whose land Yahweh intends to deliver to Abraham's descendants. In the singular form, this gentilic adjective is 3 times attested, Numbers 32:12, Joshua 14:6, and verse 14. In the phrase, quote, Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, this predication probably should be associated with the Kenizzites of Genesis 15:19. The Kenizzites were a non-Israelite ethnic group that presumably penetrated the Negev from the southeast. What little is known about them emerges mainly from consideration of their wider geopolitical context. Though scholars lack the necessary data for reconstructing the early history of these tribes in any detail, it is nonetheless clear that owing to the prominence of David and the increasingly sturdy position of the tribe of Judah, from whence he came, these southern tribes were eventually subsumed under the category of, quote, Greater Judah. From the narrative in Numbers 13 and 14, we may infer that the Calebites settled into the city of Hebron. Again, these non-Israelite people settled into the city of Hebron and subjected its quite promising agricultural environments to their advantage. In Joshua 15:13 through 19, and Judges 1:11 through 15, which is its parallel, the spotlight falls on the Othnielites. We are told that Othniel, the son of Kenaz, the younger brother of Caleb, took possession of the city of Debir, southwest of Hebron. Though the text is too laconic to be of much help to biblical historians, it does attest that the Othnielites residing in the hill country directly southwest of Hebron clustered around Debir. To the southeast of Hebron, the Kenites held sway in the vicinity of Arad, according to Judges 1:16. The precise extent of the territories claimed by the Calebites, the Othnielites, and the Kenites is unknowable. Last section here. Several biblical genealogies denote that the Kenizzites, Calebites, and the Othnielites were closely related tribal groups, and that from their tent encampments along the foothills of southern Palestine, all 3 maintained intimate associations with their eastern Edomite neighbors. Caleb and Othniel are both recognized for their genealogical linkage with Kenaz. In due course, the Kenizzites and other neighboring southern tribal groups became thoroughly absorbed by Judah. That's the end of the Kuntz article, at least what we'll quote from it. So you take all of that, and where you land is the best position seems to be that Caleb is not an Israelite, but that he and his family or his tribal group were absorbed into Israel, becoming part of Judah. Now, again, as I said at the beginning, I really don't have any idea why this is an interest to Messianic Christians. It's no shock that outsiders became part of Israel in the Old Testament period. Rahab did. Job was from Uz, which is Edomite territory. Othniel is one of the judges. He would have also been an outsider. God uses outsiders and makes them part of his people. If anything, Caleb and these other examples show non-Israelites becoming part of Israel. That's not news. I hope that this isn't some sort of quirky argument used by Hebrew roots folks. Again, that's a subset of the Messianic, I guess, category. So I hope it's not some argument used by Hebrew roots people to say Gentiles need to become Jews. And the New Testament says the exact opposite. Gentiles are the seed of Abraham. That's a quote from Galatians 3. And heirs according to the promise. Also, point blank from Galatians 3. Not because of circumcision, and not because of other laws, but because of Christ. Abraham is the example of faith apart from the law, prior to his circumcision, and prior to the giving of the law at Sinai. So I don't know how much clearer the Bible can be on this sort of stuff, but if you want to make the Bible say what your group prefers, I suppose you're going to find a way. Unfortunately, this has become sort of routine for this little community in Middle Earth, to prefer your pet position on something ahead of the gospel of the kingdom. But again, I'm just guessing on what might be the motive here, and that Hebrew roots is lurking behind this question, not on the part of the questioner, but this real interest in this, or this, I don't know if I can even call it a fight, since I haven't, I don't lurk on Facebook or anywhere else to find out what Hebrew roots groups are saying. So I'm just guessing here. But if it is some sort of argument that Gentiles have to become Jews, it's a bad one. It's one that, again, just point blank ignores the language of the New Testament. And it ignores the fact that Abraham is the, he is the litmus test. I mean, he is the point of reference for Paul as the example of faith. It has nothing to do with his circumcision. It has nothing to do with the law. The law didn't even exist, and Abraham was justified before he was circumcised. I mean, God knew his heart, and he believed before he was circumcised. Again, I just don't know how much clearer this can be. But there are some that just kind of don't really care. So maybe Hebrew roots is behind this, looking for another non sequitur argument. I don't know. It's just a guess.